What's working on Etsy right now? Well, I'm gonna tell you. And I'm gonna tell you, I hate it. Hello, I'm Kim. I've been selling on Etsy for 17 years, on and off. I had a bit of a break during the pandemic because pandemic. But don't feel sorry for me, I made this channel, so swings and roundabouts, and I'm already digressing. I rock up every week, I drink coffee, I sometimes craft, and I keep you company while you work or craft, and I talk about running a handmade business. And I always have to start every video off with, I am saying everything that I am saying from the point of view of a handmade business. So some of the things will be relevant to you, and if you're not a handmade business, some of these things will not be. So as always, take what serves you, leave the rest, be nice in the comments, or you will be yeeted into the bin. But yes, as I said, today we're going to be talking about what is working on Etsy right now. And I hope to God it changes because it's depressing. So we're going to take a bit of a tongue-in-cheek look at what you can do if you want to sell well on Etsy right now, she says through gritted teeth. Right, the first thing that I've noticed that seems to help drum up sales for my handmade business on Etsy seems to be to embrace the sales and discounts and coupons, oh my. I have been experimenting with offering my own discount, and I have noticed I have had some extra sales through that, which is good and annoying. It's not, it's very good. I'm very grateful for it. I just wish it wasn't the be all and end all, because I noticed that when I started offering this discount, my items started being shown just a little bit more, it seems, because they were getting more views. So I did wonder if there was a correlation there. Maybe, maybe not, could have been coincidence. You can never really tell with Etsy, but it does seem to be something that we need to... No, I'm not going to say we need to do, because you don't. You don't need to do this. But I have noticed that it seems to work on Etsy. To be fair, it's probably a cost of living thing, the economic everything. It is what it is at the moment. I hate that saying. I hate it when people go, it is what it is, but it also is what it is. So there's that. All I will say is that if you want to try this, just make sure that you are pricing your items so that you can still make a profit even if you give a discount. This doesn't mean that you put your prices up and then offer a discount or run a sale. That's not cool. You just want to have your permanent prices set so that should you offer a discount or a sale further down the line, you can still make a living from your thing. Remember, you're running a business, not a charity. My mouldy old house doesn't pay for itself, unfortunately. Oh, and can I just say, I think this is probably one of the first times that I've rocked up here wearing a t-shirt this summer. Every other week I've been wearing jumpers and sweaters and scarves, oh my, but it's been cold. But yes, we appear to be having our annual week of summer, and that's noteworthy enough for it to be in the video. So you want to know why British people talk about the weather so much? It's because of this. Okay, this one is the one that I probably hate the most, but I've got to say it because unfortunately it's true. Another way to make sure that you are getting regular sales, it seems, and to get Etsy to notice your shop at all in the search algorithm is to make sure that you are shipping your items really bloody quickly. If you want to get ahead of your competition, you need to build yourself a time machine and preferably send your items out the day before the person places the order. There you go, top tip, you heard it here first. In short, become Amazon. Because when you were dreaming about setting up your own business and growing it, that's what you thought about, wasn't it? It was like, I want to be just like Amazon and burn myself the fuck out. So I said in a recent video, and I'm going to repeat it here just in case you are new, fairly recently, Etsy brought in a change whereby if your shipping times or your dispatch times, whatever you want to call it, was a little bit longer than what you actually did. Say, for example, you had a dispatch time of 3 days, but you usually sent it out the very next day, which is what I did. They changed your shipping times for you so that it showed your customers that you would send out their item the next day. Quite rightly, that didn't go down well. I did see it. Like I mentioned in the video, I was a bit annoyed by it, but I also couldn't be bothered to change it because I was like, well, you know, I do tend to send it out the next day. I'll change it back later. And then I started noticing that I was getting more sales. And I also got international sales for my physical items back, which again, if you're a regular here, you'll know that I hadn't had for the best part of a year. I don't know if I was dinged by localization or if having my dispatch times too long by Etsy standards meant that I put myself in localization essentially, but yeah, as soon as it was shortened to 1 day, all of a sudden sales started coming in again quite regularly without me doing anything. Not a huge amount, but again, I'm a handmade business, so I don't tend to sell as much or as often as, say, a business who sells maybe print on demand or digital items. These are usually bigger ticket, more expensive handmade stuff, including but not limited to some of the stuff you see in the background, those blurry squares and circles back there. I sell blurry squares and circles. Hand embroidered stuff. Anyway, they shortened the shipping times and I got my sales back, which was annoying because I was sending stuff out the next day because I could, but I wanted that extra wriggle room just in case something happened. And now I don't have that wriggle room anymore, and that annoys me, but also I like having the sales, so yeah. Okay, the other thing that I've noticed that seems to work well on Etsy at the moment is selling smaller ticket items. And what I mean by smaller ticket items is basically cheaper items. Again, cost of living, economic gubbins, blah. But I was watching a video on YouTube this morning and an Etsy ad popped up, which is not unusual. They are going hard and fast with the ads on YouTube at the moment. But the ad, I wrote down what it said. In it, the ad said, and I quote, "Affordable finds under £39. Huh? Now, to be fair, I don't think I have anything in my shop that's over £39, but it was interesting to me that they used that exact wording in an ad to customers. They are advertising and promoting items under that bracket. So if you sell bigger ticket items, that's great. But for those who have been paying attention, I don't think it's that much of a surprise that Etsy are attracting a lot of bargain hunters and people who are after cheaper stuff. We just don't have the money for the bigger ticket items. Some of us do, but I don't think Etsy is the platform where people with a bigger budget instinctively go to. That being said, I'm not taking my bigger ticket items out of my shop because I do think that it's another way to get found, and even if people can't buy my bigger ticket item straight off, some people like to buy them over and over again, and they might start with a lower ticket item, build up that trust, and then later on when they have the budget or if they're looking for something special, they'll have you in their mind and they might come back. That's my thinking anyway. But yes, that was just interesting to me, and I have noticed, and I mentioned this in my reset video last week, that after finishing my Etsy experiment, for those who don't know, I've been running an Etsy experiment where I basically wanted to see if Etsy was any good for finished handmade products now. And the answer was essentially, it's exactly the same as it was before. And the items that I sell the most are my supplies items. So higher ticket ones do better on my website, which is why I can sell fewer items and make fewer sales on my website compared to Etsy sometimes, and still make more revenue and more profit. So it's not enough to say, oh, people don't care about handmade, because they do. And it's not enough to say that people don't have the budget and won't buy higher ticket items, because they do. But it does seem that Etsy is not really the platform for those kinds of customers now. The next thing is personalization, and I want to go back to the ad that I mentioned that I saw this morning, because I saw another ad from Etsy, and this time they were promoting like the back to school stuff, especially the personalized. I think this one they were talking about a back to school, like a backpack that was personalized with a kid's name on it. And Etsy have always been very, what's the word I'm looking for? Etsy have always encouraged personalization, and I think it's because, to be fair, if somebody wants something personalized, Etsy might be a platform that they think of. It's not something that the high street shops can do. I've seen them try. There was one year, I remember, I think it was Marks and Spencer's here in the UK, were offering personalised Christmas ornaments, and I thought, how does that work? They were not nice. But I think that was their attempt at trying to compete with the personalisation that you can get on places like Etsy from smaller businesses, because it's very popular. And I do think this is something that, if you're a handmade seller, it's it can give you an advantage because a lot of people will make things that are very similar to what you can get on the high street. And I've always said, if you are competing with a high street, you've just made an uphill battle even steeper, because people usually go to the high street over having to buy something online and having to wait for it and etc, etc. But personalization is big, and Etsy are leaning into that. Leaning into it, that's the word I was looking for. And lastly, this one isn't new, but it's something that I've seen ramp up, and that is just getting seasonal stuff in your shop even earlier than usual. So I think some people will say, I try to get my, say for example, Christmas stuff up by September. I've seen people shopping for Christmas stuff June. And again, there'll be people going, yeah. Obviously, there are always people who are going to purchase things way in advance, but it seems to be ramping up, and I do wonder if this is linked to the economic everything as well. I do know that as far as Christmas goes, I'm starting to spread out the planning and the I don't want to talk about it. It's still summer. We've just got summer. Most of me doesn't want to think about Christmas, but the small business part of me is like, but you kind of have to. My point is, this is not just something that high street stores do now. You have to be thinking so far ahead. It's ridiculous. The very organised of us will probably have their autumn stuff, their Halloween stuff ready to go in the shop already. I'm filming this right at the end of July. I'm only just thinking about it because, as always, I am late. So yeah, like I said, this isn't new. As an online seller, you always do have to think ahead of yourself all the time. But I think this is something that is even more a thing than it was a few years ago, if you catch my drift. So in short, hustle, jump through those hoops. What did I say? Sales, discounts and coupons. Ship everything the day before the person makes the order. Sell lower ticket items. Personalize the gubbins out of them. And get your stuff in as early as possible. Basically, stick yourself on a road to burnout. Or alternatively, get yourself a website, and therefore it takes the pressure off and you don't have to worry so much. I know that not everybody can have a website, don't worry. I just had to say that because I do think even if you can't get a website just yet, you should be working towards it because, oh my goodness, it might be a big job at the time, but the pressure that it takes off every time Etsy comes out with a stupid, and they come out with plenty of stupids, it doesn't rock my boat nearly as much. It's just kind of like, what are they doing now? Do I have to make a video about it? But seriously, I know that I've said this whole video a bit tongue-in-cheek, but there's truth in what I've said. As a handmade seller, these are the things that I have personally noticed have brought sales into my shop at a time of the year that is usually dead for me. And as I shared in my last monthly reset video, Etsy actually brought in more sales for me this month than my website did. It didn't bring in as much revenue or profit because, again, my bigger ticket items are the things that sell on my website, so therefore I make more money from my website. And like I said earlier, I didn't actually do anything for those sales. Those were organic. I didn't run ads, I didn't promote them on social media or anywhere else. These things seem to be working right now. None of them are good. And the trouble with having to jump through this many hoops is that it really can lead to burnout. Take from this video what you will. Don't be afraid to leave things if you can't do it. You can't send things the very next day, don't. You absolutely do not need to. If you can't offer discounts or coupons or run sales, don't. You don't need to. Jump through your own hoops. Ultimately, you will need to decide if jumping through these hoops is worth it for you or not. Because I have my website, my Shopify store, I don't really care too much. It doesn't affect me in the way that it might have done a few years ago. So I'm happy to jump through these hoops for now because they don't really feel much like jumping. However, I have said no to these things in the past, and I will do so again like that if need be. If you've noticed anything else that might help get sales for a handmade business, then please do get in the comments and share them because I think we need all the help we can get right now. If this has just made you think I want to get a website, then I'll share this video with you. It's how I drive traffic to my website because I get asked that a lot and I can't be bothered to repeat myself. So I'll see you next week. Ta-ra!